Well, welcome back. Welcome back. I am joined this evening by my friend, my buddy, my co conference host, Mr. Pastor Zach Davis. Zach, what's up, dude?
Man, living dreams out here. Back to reality today.
Yeah.
Did
Did
you go to
you, did,
work?
yeah, I guess only physically. Did you crawl out of that bunker that we were in this weekend?
Yeah, I did sleep in a little later today, though. Don't tell the deacons over at the church.
I, I, would it surprise them if I told them?
Yeah, probably not. I think they give me a pass for today.
Zach, check his hat out, man, while we're here. It says Windsor on it. My friends Jamie and Terry Swift from Texas gave me this. Good guys.
I'm mad at them. Like I
Did
ain't
you?
I ain't even gonna lie, Jamie and Terry. What's this about? How come he gets a hat and I can't? I mean, I know I didn't work at Fastenal or none of that other stuff, but good grief.
Yeah. Well, he took it as a dig at me, but I can take a dig. I like it.
Yeah,
But
hey,
anyway,
those are good dudes, man.
yeah, super good days. We met a lot of good folks this weekend, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But Zach and we're just coming off the heels of the 2024 Arkansas Eschatology Conference, first of its kind, first one we've ever done. Zach, what do you think about the conference? Just 10,000-foot flyover view.
I think that the printing press sparked a reformation, and I think that the internet and COVID sparked another one. That's what I think about the conference. So I was overwhelmed. I couldn't, I, and we saw the ticket sales and we knew people were coming, but I'll be honest, we toured the venue and looked at the venue and stuff, but man, I thought the venue was awesome, and
Mm-hmm.
it was better than I thought it was when we looked at it. And I never saw any of the rooms, but everybody kept saying how nice the rooms were, and
Yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with it. But you can throw the venue and all the other stuff aside. The people are what made this, and that was the overwhelming part to me, is just how appreciative people were and how hungry for fellowship people were. And man, it was really a mixed bag too of a lot of people in the preterist community. It wasn't just
Mm-hmm.
there was this type of people there, this type of people there. There were people from different sides on different things, and it was unique.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But I was so overwhelmed just from the outpouring of folks who enjoyed it and came, and man, it was just encouraging.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat too. Just the fact that we had the CBV and the IBV, and we had your covenant creation folks, and then the ones that hate that, and your rapture people, and the ones that reject that, all under the same roof, all worshiping, all listening to great teaching, and getting along.
Yeah.
It really was just a beautiful thing to see. You talked about the people. I the first day we were there, I was standing in line and I was holding a Diet Coke. And I don't know if you bought anything from the little market, but it was so slow. And I'm standing there, and this guy comes up and he slapped me on the arm. He said, "I got you, man." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I saw you standing here. You ain't got time to wait. I paid for your Coke." So I was like, "I appreciate that. And that happened more than once, but just very sweet people. It was a really genuine crowd, I felt like. And I know that when you and I were in Virginia, we met a lot of different people, and a lot of those people were here in Jonesboro. So it was cool to reconnect with them. It
Yeah.
was cool to meet a bunch of people that we've known from a distance.
Yep.
To finally shake their hand or hug their neck or whatever. Just a really sweet time. It's a weekend I'll remember forever. Not to mention it was my birthday weekend, so that makes it even that much more cool.
For sure. I I think that I I think that the number of people who it was their first time attending a conference, that I think that was a shock to me when we asked to start the
Mhm.
Q&A how many people this was their first conference that they had attended, and I was it 150 to 200 hands?
It was at least half the room, I think. I don't think I'm stretching to say that.
No, and I knew there were names that I didn't recognize per se, even on Facebook or on YouTube comments or in the Predators community. There were a lot of names that I didn't recognize, but man, there were more people there that I didn't recognize than I realized.
Hmm. Yeah, which is really cool.
And
What I go ahead.
the other thing, while I was thinking about that Q&A, because we asked two questions. We asked how many of you this is your first conference in half the room, and then we asked another question and said how many of you have been a preterist for 5 years or less, and it was right at half the room again.
Yeah. Yep. Very cool. Um, let's move in talking about some of the speakers and the things they did. And let me just say first, and I know that we said this about Virginia, but David and Kathy Curtis, just the sweetest folks you ever meet. You know, I told Kenna, I said, now this lady wants to meet you, and I said, she's going to hug your neck, and I said, and you're going to talk to her for 10 minutes and feel like you've known her for 10 years, because that's just how hospitable she is. You know, so it was really cool getting to see them again. And what'd you think about David's talks?
I thought David did exactly what we thought David would do. And I told him this. I sent him a text. I sent him a text right before he spoke the second time, and I said, "Hey, try not to blow this." And he sent back a bunch of question marks. And I guess my sarcasm's hard to read in text message. But I
Yeah,
told
he's
him, I
not
said,
used to it
"Man,
like I am.
no, he's I don't know if I scared him or what, but he killed it. The first one was good, but he killed it the second one. He's probably mad at me over the first one. We had lapel
Yeah.
mic trouble in the first two talks, but we got it fixed after that. We had channel issues and frequency problems, but shout out to Justin and Matt for that. They were great all
Yeah.
weekend. But he did exactly what I thought he would do, and I told him, I said, David, you have no idea how many people have told me that they are here to see you.
Hmm.
Like they are here to meet you. Like these people, man, it's unbelievable the YouTube reach that he has and people that gather together in homes and watch him every single week. And he walked straight through the feast days just like we knew he would, and was clear and concise. And that's what I appreciate about him.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's no secret to anybody that's in our circles. You know, he and Don, in a very real sense, are pioneers of this thing. I mean,
Yeah.
how long have they been doing this?
How
You
long have
know,
they been on the internet?
right? And been taking the arrows and fighting the fights, and here they are, all these decades later, just continuing to teach the truth. You know.
That's something I appreciate about Pastor Curtis too. He's so pastoral in
Hmm.
some of the just the conversations that we've had, just talking about all the shots that come at you and his ability, even though people hammer him online like they do all of us, for him to not engage and not engage and not engage and
Yeah.
not care because the only opinion that he cares about is what God thinks. That's
Yeah.
man, that's encouraging to me.
Yeah, I agree. You know, you brought up the mic thing. So David went first, you know, and he had to use the handheld. Well, then we thought we had it fixed for Mike's first talk. So he got up there, and then it was cutting in and out. So I handed him the handheld, and he kind of leaned over. He said, "I've never used one of these before." I said, "Well, you look good holding it." You know? But Mike got up there, Zach, and he did exactly what we knew he was going to do, which was presented 8,032 slides with a bunch of charts, and the dude got buckets. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. All the things that he tethered in with the Olivet discourse.
Yeah, he's got a brain, man. And these something about Mike and these guys, they don't speak every week like I do. So there's so much for people like him and Don to throw in. And they
Hmm.
spend so much time studying so hard and they want to get all that in there. And man, just what he's able to cram in and really get done in the discourse there and show harmonization and why certain things mean. You guys are going to see it when this thing comes out in a couple of days. It's well worth your time.
Yeah, when he sat back down, I said, Mike, you spent about 8 years prepping for that, or what? I mean, just unbelievable.
I think he had 83 slides in it,
Was it 83?
something like that. Bob had
Yeah.
363 on his.
Well, I knew when he got done, our projector screen had smoke rolling off of it. So now that explains that.
We had to take a 2-hour intermission.
Now, you brought up Bob. Tell us about Bob.
All right, Bob spoke on Zechariah
You, you,
14 on
you think he studied before he came?
I yeah, I think he's been studying that about 12 years. Bob spoke on Zechariah 14, and we kicked him off the second day. We knew we had to get people out of bed at 9:30 on Saturday, so Bob went first on Saturday, and I'm going to be honest. I caught about the first 20 minutes, and then I had a bunch of other stuff that I had to do in the back of the room
Uh-huh.
on Bob. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to him. But I caught the first 20 minutes, and then I missed the middle of it. But when I came back in, I'll just say this: for the last 10 minutes, he ended it with a standing ovation, just for his declaration
Yes.
of peace and the unity of God. And essentially, he ended it with the idea of how people are trying to usher in war, and we're the ones
Mhm.
calling for peace with a rightly understood eschatology. And there were people that man, there were people that said I could hear him talking in the lobby as soon as we got there the first day. I said, man, you got, because some people had never heard Bob, and people were just telling the others, you got to hear Bob, you got to hear Bob, you got to hear Bob.
Yeah.
And he didn't disappoint at all.
Yeah, I love Bob's style too, because he's not just exegeting the text. He certainly is doing that. What he did in Zechariah was phenomenal Bible teaching, and especially the part where he went into Jesus cleansing the temple, and he tied in the stuff about the Canaanites and the merchants, and just beautiful message. But Bob doesn't stop at exegesis. He teaches you, and then he applies what you've
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when he went into his plea about how we as preterists, we have the solution to these warmongers and all these problems that are arising, because everybody's false eschatology believes this is part of it.
Yeah.
And it was just a really moving, the way that he ended it. I really appreciated it. And I know everybody else did too, because everybody was hooping and hollering. I said, man, that brother was preaching right there at the end of that.
I agree
Really good
100%.
message.
Let's talk about Joel for a second. If you're somebody that's new to the idea of preterism, and it's not about, man, and I say this all the time, it's really not about eschatology. This is about hermeneutics, and it's the hermeneutics that lead you to the conclusions that we came to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested in saying, how do you guys arrive at the position that you arrive? You need to go listen to Joel's first one when he talked about how many times
Yes.
does the world end. I had people say, man, we'd never heard Joel teach before. And they're saying, we're going to his channel right now.
Yeah.
And he just showed Old Testament usage of language and how cosmic disturbance was localized to a people and judgment that God brought, and then applied it in the New Testament and showed consistency in the text. I thought it was absolutely astounding. And I'm going to say this. I come from a sports background and a different teaching style than, say, somebody like Bob and Joel. But man, there are so many people that they resonate with. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny to see too, because everybody came to hear somebody different. You know, they might have wanted to hear,
Yeah.
but everybody's got somebody that they enjoy listening to more than others. And I'm the same way, and you are too. There are some people that we
Yes.
connect with better. And it's
Yep.
amazing how many people connect with the way that Joel and Bob teach. And I think that's what people loved about Joel, because he can take something complex, which, I mean, the eschaton is complex. He can take something that's so complex and make it so simple that
Mm-hmm.
entry level people to this thought can understand. And that is a beautiful thing to do. So
Yeah.
kudos to him, man.
I had somebody, I can't remember if it was Saturday or if it was at church Sunday, but somebody came up to me, and they told me, they said, I'm going to be honest with you. When we heard Gary wasn't coming, I was super bummed. I was really looking forward to hearing from him, and I wasn't familiar with Joel. But dude, holy smokes, that guy straight up brought it, and he just went on and on about how good both of his messages were.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. I mean, what I was sitting there thinking during Joel's first one, which my neck got to hurt because I was shaking my head so much, because everything he said was just like boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. And what went through my mind, Zach, was, can you imagine sitting here having never heard any of this
Right.
before?
And there were plenty of people there that never had.
Yeah. And like, what has to be going through your mind as he's laying this out? I mean, clearly, if the end of the world wasn't the end of the physical world in this text or this text or this text or this text, then what right do we have to make it so in the New Testament, using that similar language? And I just thought, man, it was good.
You going to bring up Don going like 20 or 30 minutes over in his first one, or you want me to do that?
Who? Don who?
Don K. Preston, president of Predators Research Institute, Ardmore, Oklahoma, buddy.
Yeah, he was probably 75 minutes in, and I was sitting in the corner by Miss Jan, Don's wife, and I just looked at her, and she was like, just let him
So
go.
Travis texted me, said, we're going to stop him. I said, I ain't stopping him.
I told him when he got done, he walked back there. I said, Don, you're about 25 minutes in, and my brain rolled out of my right ear, and it slid across the room over there.
No,
I
if
mean,
anybody can connect things to the end of the millennium and show why they had to be when they were, Don did it in that one. And I was thinking, I was honestly thinking, I was like, yeah, he's over time. But if we can endure this for an extra 20 minutes, which to be fair to Don, he was the last one on the first day. And to be fair to Don, it's a hard spot sometimes to go. Everybody's excited to hear him. But on the last one on the first day, everybody's already heard 3 messages and had a full day and been traveling. He said, if we can, he said, yeah, maybe people had to endure it there at the end. for the extra minutes, but man, that's going to be on video forever for people to have to go argue with. And
Yeah.
that's why I was thinking, man, I don't care. I wouldn't care if he went for 2 hours. I was going to let it roll. And it was phenomenal. But that's Don. And there's something to him. It was different. There was a different feel about kind of the idea that people had about Don. I don't know if it's kind of because of the debate stuff,
Hmm.
but you could just kind of tell that, man, people were real perked up to hear him. I thought, not that they weren't for everybody else, they were, but I just felt like, and maybe it was the nightcap thing. I don't know. Maybe it was at,
Yeah.
after dinner or whatever. I don't know, but I just felt like, man, there's a lot of interest here because I think it's just like you were talking about him and David. There's a level of respect because of
Hmm.
the longevity as to which they've been doing this.
Yeah.
And that's the way I felt when Don got up there. And it was just, man, I'm glad it was at the conference we hosted. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Amen. Well, my thoughts on Don, he did exactly what we all knew he was going to do as far as the teaching stuff, and even in the Q&A, um, everything he said was just gold. The dude knows the Bible inside out, front to back. So that didn't surprise me. What did surprise me, and maybe that's not the right word. I wasn't surprised by this, but um, let me say this: I was encouraged, Zach, that these guys from a distance. You hear them teach, you hear them talk, and you have your perceptions of them, but you don't really know how somebody is until you have a face-to-face, honest conversation with them. And I'll say this about Don: I'm not going to say which speaker it was because I don't want to make anybody mad. But I wound up sitting out in the lobby with Don for somebody's full talk, basically. And this wasn't the only conversation that we had, but Don and I had a really good conversation.
Yeah.
And I got to have, more than one really good conversation with Miss Jan. And you're not going to find two finer people.
No,
I mean, just sincere, genuine, humble, sweet. I can't say enough good about them.
I was more impressed with Don when we ate lunch on Thursday than I was with Don speaking. And the bar for him speaking is really high.
Yeah. What did he
So
did he eat really good or something? We
now I don't know how much he ate. I just mean just the conversations and the way that he processes things and
Mhm.
thinks about things and the history of things and even the way that he speaks about people that he may disagree with. And
Yeah.
there was just a lot to learn from that conversation.
Yeah,
So
I enjoyed them just telling the stories, like when they went to Alaska and all that. Just it was a good time of fellowship with those, and it's always real special when it's with somebody that you look up to and admire so much
yeah,
too.
no, for
But
sure.
anyway, all right, Zach, we've covered the speakers. Obviously, we're going to get those messages out at some point in the near future. Do you have any thoughts on the Q&A?
I wish it would have been longer, but I think we were exhausted by the time we got to that Q&A on Saturday night, and I felt that in the crowd a little
Yeah.
bit too. So just all of us and the crowd. If I had it to do different, I'd probably time the Q&A different.
Hmm.
But any way you cut it to cram as much as we did in one weekend, you're going to fight that battle whoever's going last.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll say this one thing Joel did that was brilliant. Joel knew that ahead of time. I mean, he was thinking because originally Joel was going to give his testimony first, and then he was the last
Yeah.
speaker to actually speak
Hmm.
before the dinner, and then after the dinner was the Q&A on Saturday. Joel switched them, and that was a brilliant move by Joel's part because if it would have been another hour of theology, hard pressed thinking right after all that just went down,
Hmm.
people would have had a real hard time with it with three of them back to back. But he
Yeah.
switched his testimony, and people were so engaged and locked in for that last hour right before dinner. But yeah, the Q&A, I thought there were some good things that were said. I wish we would have got to more questions, but man, we went for what? An hour and 15, hour and 20?
Yeah. Roundabout.
I think somewhere in that. And I really enjoyed it. I I was looking forward to hosting the Q&A, and I don't know if it's because we've seen so much Ligonier and G3 Q&A stuff, but I really was looking forward to that and making that a highlight of my weekend. Hudson got sick and he was running 105 fever. So as soon as we get up there for the Q&A and sit down, Andrea is blowing my phone up, ring after ring, and I was thinking, then she finally texts me. So, but
Well,
what'd you think?
I didn't feel super great. And Saturday night, I was wore out, been, nerves on high all weekend. And I'm sitting up there in the chair, and I remember consciously thinking, we're probably 40 minutes in, and I was thinking, God, please don't let me fall out of this chair, because I was just exhausted. And then I looked at my watch, and I was like, oh man, like we probably need to be winding this thing down. But I thought it was really good. I thought everybody had great input. I think the crowd, received it really well. Some of them didn't want us to quit, so I felt like that was a
Yeah.
pretty good sign.
I think there were some folks that were ready for it to be over, and I think there were some folks who were really disappointed that it didn't go for 3 hours.
Yeah,
So maybe the timing of it, and that's probably our fault. We should have had it earlier in the day at some point, maybe before lunch or something like that. But
yeah. Don had us all rolling at one point, which when it comes out, people can check that out.
yeah, it'll be worth watching for sure. So
Yeah,
I think there's some things that we touched on, like Acts 1:11. There are some things that we touched on in all Israel being saved. There are things that we touched on how to share preterism early on, what to do if you're in a church and you're having to sacrifice fellowship for teaching, or how do you go about that. So there's some practical stuff that's in there too that I think people are really be interested in.
yeah. I apologize if you can hear kids screaming in the background. I've done all I can trying to calm them down, and it's just not working. But yeah, it all. I'm losing it. I'm losing control here.
Well, that's all
Zach,
right.
keep talking.
All right, let's go in. Let's go into maybe a couple things that we could have done better, because this obviously was our first conference, and me and Travis try to be extremely honest with things and how they were. And we've already mentioned the timing of the Q&A, and that we probably should have moved that forward a little bit. But there are some things that I think we both agree that we could have done differently and could have done better, just from a standpoint of maybe community and fellowship for the people, and for those that were there. And one thing that I had about 3 or 4 people say to me afterward or at some point during it, and it crossed my mind, it really did at one point cross my mind, is that we had so many people from so many different states that we should have had a time, maybe just like how everybody does we do the handshaking time at the beginning of church. We should have did a state by state. That way people could have saw and met who it was that was in their state and see who was closer to them. Because in a room of 300 people, and I say 300, we sold 300, right at 300 tickets. But there were probably 285, I think 285, 290 there, something like that was
I
the
think
best
that's
count we
probably
could
right
get.
at.
We had some that wound up not being able to make it, and we added some at the end. But I wish we would have done that. We had people recommend that we put, like they do at the Berean conference, where people were from on the name tag. I thought that was something that we should have done differently. But I will say this, and I don't remember whose idea it was, if it was Carrie's or mine or yours, but we copied what they did at G3, and on the back of the name tag put the itinerary. That was one of the most brilliant things that we did. So shout out to Carrie for that and all her help in
Yeah,
doing that.
we definitely couldn't have done this without Carrie and the girls and Justin and Matt. And then all the guys that helped move stuff.
Yeah,
there was a lot of help behind making this happen.
let me do that right now, because I'll forget by the end of this. So there's a lot of people that need to be thanked. Number one, Travis, he organized a whole bunch of this stuff. I want to thank Justin Patterson. Y'all probably don't know who he is. He's not on screen, but he does a whole bunch of stuff for me behind the scenes. And Justin ran a lot of the audio tech stuff. Him and Matt did, and I owe Justin more than I could ever pay him financially. And you guys, any of my stuff that's online, it's because of Justin and him and Addie, which is Carrie's daughter. And then Rayleigh helped us a lot this weekend. We need to thank Justin Armstrong for helping out with security and for moving stuff. We need to thank Josh Thompson for doing the exact same thing. We need to thank Harvey Harrington for doing that. So 3 good friends, good dudes in our church who were just such a blessing to us. We need to thank Sandy Teague for decorating the church and going out of her way and taking care of all that. It looked beautiful, and so many compliments on that. And obviously Carrie and doing the singing. And
Yeah.
I mean, Carrie was great. And man, Carrie's a good friend, and not only is she good at Bible, but she's just good at a lot of stuff and organizational stuff. You and her are a lot alike in that. And admittedly, I'm not great on that side. So
Yeah, and I'd throw my stepmom Lindy in there too, because she took my last minute T-shirt order
yeah,
and got it done, and so she had them there ready for us. So
yeah,
um,
that was awesome. Anyway,
yeah,
we were talking about things we could improve on. What do you think we could have improved on?
Well, we could improve on the hotel not having live music crank up at what 7:30, 8 o'clock. I don't know. I remember
My
in
heart fell.
Don's talk, I was sitting there listening to the guy, and about that time, I thought maybe I missed the seventh trumpet or something because this voice just starts bellowing through the hall,
Uh,
and I was like, "What?" And then we're all kind of looking around, and then everybody went and closed the doors, and it was fine. But
yeah.
that was kind of unexpected.
Yeah, we were ready the second night, but it took me off guard the first night.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
something to take care of on the front end. But that wasn't it was surprising to us, but it wasn't a problem for more than 30 seconds. So
We did find out Friday night that a couple people had a gluten allergy or sensitivity, and we didn't have a gluten-free meal option. So maybe that's something that in the future we make sure there's a protein or something like that included,
yeah,
so that they didn't have to leave and go get something else to eat.
right. We got that
Um,
taken care of
got
on the
that taken
second
care of for
night.
the second night. So
The funniest thing was that Travis and I didn't stay at the hotel because we live so close. So we didn't stay at the hotel, which the venue was great. I mean, it was a remarkable venue to host this deal at, and that helped it go a long way too. But was it Thursday night? So
yeah.
Thursday night, evidently, right in the middle of the night, the fire alarm goes off, and everybody in the whole hotel is out there in the parking lot. And we didn't know it till we got there the next day, and everybody was saying that the futurist pulled the fire alarm, and I was
Oh
laughing so
man.
hard. Because we didn't, me and Travis didn't know. We didn't have any idea until people started
Mm-mm.
telling us.
No, it didn't go off in my house. So
I slept like a baby.
So
So
one other thing, and you touched on this, but I think if we were to do it again, we would need to have the state or maybe city and state where everybody's from. I had a lot of people asking me like, "Have you met anybody from the so and so area?" And I'm like, "I don't even know where that is." But that would be a good thing next time so that we can coordinate people together. So I actually talked to one lady, and I think she was from Cabot, Arkansas, and she had met somebody from Searcy and
yeah,
they didn't know each other before then.
right.
So if we can make more connections like that happen, that would be really good for everybody.
Yeah, we had a good Louisiana turnout, a good
Mhm.
Texas turnout, a pretty good Missouri, St. Louis area turnout,
Oklahoma.
um, Oklahoma, but we had over 30 states and Canada represented at this conference, and
Mhm.
that was so humbling. And what was funny is, so the people in my church are obviously aware that there's a little bit of that people watch our stuff online. But Sunday morning, they didn't. I mean, I don't think they truly got it until Sunday morning, until all those people were at church. Like there are some people that watch me teach live, so they don't really get on the internet and watch it. They were there live for it. They were in Sunday school, they were in the service, and and some of them do. But there was a large number of people in the church. I don't think that realized kind of the reach that we actually had in this, and
Mhm.
that was so humbling, and for them to see, and they were like, they were coming up to me saying, "Zach, we didn't have any idea." And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, it's just pretty cool the way that God works in all of it. So
Yeah. It was also really cool just to share in a worship service with all these people that you love that you don't get to see all the time.
yeah,
Um, they're our family. That was really enjoyable as well.
and they sang their hearts out too. I'll give them that.
It sure did. I thought we always do the scripture reading, and I felt like with 200 plus people in the room reading it, that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
kind of had a
that was
power
neat.
to it.
Yeah, that was neat. So I was thrilled and thankful to you guys watching this. Of so many of you that came on Sunday, and I'm not mad at any of you that didn't, but just that was encouraging. So
Yeah,
very very appreciative.
Don told me that they were cutting out early. They had other plans. I said, man, I get it. You don't want to hear the B team. That's fine. You know.
That's why we stuck us at the end. So, but
Oh, well, Zach,
well, let me ask you before you get off here and before you close it.
I know what you're gonna ask. Go ahead.
You gonna do it again or no?
I'm not hard committing to it tonight, but it's definitely a conversation we're gonna have.
The one thing I was disappointed in, and this is different from when we went to Virginia. So, just complete transparency with everybody. Running the conference is extremely hard. It's not physically, but just mentally keeping things going. What's next and how we're transitioning stuff and how we got to prepare a couple hours out for things and that stuff. There's so many people that I wanted to spend more time talking to,
Hmm.
and every time I was talking to somebody, I always felt and I don't know, they may not have took it this way, but I always felt like I was trying to have to go get something else done, so I couldn't really give them my undivided attention. When we went to Virginia, when we go speak out there, David's doing all that,
Yeah.
so we can take a meal and go sit down, and we can take an hour here, an hour there, because really, we're only talking for 2 hours, you
Yeah.
know. So the rest of the time, we're there to hang out and downtime and really enjoy that stuff. And it was just different for that. So for anybody that wanted to speak to me and Travis more, I'm so sorry. I can't tell you how many times that I got pulled away because of things that I had to go do to people. I hope there's nobody that feels, anything like that. And I'll say this too, and I'll stop talking. Sorry.
No, you're good.
There are people that have followed me on YouTube for the past couple of years that I finally got to meet, and I did finally get to spend some time with, and I'm so thankful for that. I'll give one name. I got to hang out at breakfast a little bit on Saturday morning with a lady named Andrea Starks, who follows us on here a lot. I got to meet Dave Schimmels, and man, Dave, shout out to you. Thanks for following us and everything that you do. It's so good to see you guys who comment all the time on our videos. And I was so proud that, you got to get down here. Chris and Miranda Rife, just so many people that there are others that I can't name, but man, that I got to meet. Awesome time. And so many more of you guys that we met. Billy Sample, say some names like that. Obviously, you're going to leave people out with 300, but just so many people that follow along. And golly, just so encouraging to finally get to meet and get to see. And it blows your mind when there's people that you never see and they know your kids and they know your wife, and you're walking through the lobby and they know who you are. And it's just different. And in the effect and the way that God can use ministries on the internet, as it changed my life, as far as the amount of people that I know. Because, dude, this very computer 3 years ago on a not very good webcam with this exact microphone, I sat down and started making videos, and somehow or another, for me and you both doing that, it turned into this conference. And just the way God has blessed it with everything that we've gone through the last 3 years, I just pray that he continues to use it.
Yeah, all to think, because two crazy knotheads from Arkansas said, "Hey, we should study eschatology."
Well, we did. I don't know if it's for the better or worse, but we did.
Depends on how you look at it, I guess. But
no.
Well, any final thoughts, Zach, before we wind this thing up?
I think that's about it. I just want to say thanks to everybody who supported through encouragement and prayer and financially. And we'll have the discussion on whether or not we'll do it again, but we're not going to commit to that the day after yet. So,
yeah, again, I agree with Zach. I want to thank every single person that came, all of you that I got to meet. It just, again, it was a very special weekend, sincerely, and meant a lot to me. I do want to throw this out there. I had a couple T-shirts left over. I don't know how many, probably 30 or 40. If any of y'all are interested in those, this is what the front looks like. It's Arkansas Eschatology Conference. And I strategically placed one here beside me so you can see the back. But it says The Bunker on there, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Yeah. So if you want one, email me. It's Travis_drum@hotmail.com. We'll figure out how to get it to you. And if not, that's fine. But I know that a couple people did ask about them when I mentioned that there'd be shirts. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Hey, if you do another one, you should call it Back to the Bunker Part 2.
Oh, not a bad idea.
All right.
Well, guys, Zach, thank you for this 34 minutes of your time. Everybody, thanks for watching. I guess we'll wind it up there, Zach.
All right. See you guys.
All right.